On this show, we're going to feature a whole lot of professionals, experts, and they are going to take us through a journey of understanding life, a journey of understanding how we can live as human beings. You will see experts coming from the field of psychology, philosophy, engineering, politics, governance, law, and a whole lot of areas that borders on human survival and enhancement. Today, I have with me one of the finest Ghanaians who came to the United States around somewhere in the 60s. And he has got so many experience when it comes to governance, leadership, nation building, and a whole lot of stuff. He is coming to be with us on this show today. Like I said, this is the maiden episode. This is the first show. And we specifically reserved this show for this guest because of his large expertise and experience in the area of nation building, politics, and governance. This guest has authored 2 great books, and in the course of this show, we will be delving into those books as well. So stay tuned, be with us as we journey this first episode together. And the name of my guest today is nobody than Dr. K. Danso. Welcome, Doc.
Hello. Thank you very much. Thanks to the audience. I'm very glad to be here and on your maiden show. I hope we can dialogue and answer some questions for you, especially the young people, about how societies are built from both technical, scientific, as well as the human resource, as well as the economic models that make society work. Thank
Awesome.
you.
And we are also glad and grateful to have you on the show. Doc, without further ado, let me ask you to take us, through your life. Just give us a summary of your life.
Well, thank you very much. My life is really, if I start, it's not that fancy at all. It's not no flashlights, no big jumbo vehicles. No, 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 no. I started life as a modest baby born in Abetifi, Ghana. Abetifi,
Oh,
fortunately, or Abetifi is the highest habitable place in Ghana in
yeah.
terms of physical location. And as I look around, it was a wealthy town, but I didn't come from a wealthy family. We were just ordinary people. My grandfather was a farmer. We used to go to the farm. My mother was a businesswoman doing her thing, and my father was nowhere to be found. So I think that there's a long story we can talk about, but in general, I grew up in a very modest home, and it took my headmaster of my junior secondary school, we used to call middle school. It took his intercession with my grandfather before I got a chance to even attend secondary school, which we call SS, senior secondary school. In
Yes,
those days, education was not a going to secondary school was considered a privilege. A very few got a chance to go to senior secondary school. You'll be
that's true.
surprised. Yeah.
That's true.
So getting a chance to go to secondary school was a big privilege for me. And with parents not financially that well off, I found out that my grades were good enough, but then you have to apply for scholarship. Who is going to apply for you if you didn't have the education? My mother, my grandma, my grandfather, grandparent, my grand uncle, sorry, they were not educated people to know that you could apply for scholarship because you're a farmer. No. So Kwame Nkrumah did his best. He set up programs, but unfortunately, for the ordinary people who did not have the opportunity to go to school,
Okay.
they could not even apply for the benefit that they were entitled to. So anyway, so that's the beginning of my life, and Abitifi was a really nice weather, the best weather in the world, I would say. But unfortunately, I see things that could have been done to make the place better, more organized, neater, roads, but even today, they are still the same.
Okay.
60 some
Like
70 years.
almost 60 something
Oh,
years.
yeah,
Abetifi
70, yeah.
today is the
As
same
as
like you left
as
it.
I remember, I was in Ghana last year. We went to Abetifi. I walked down the same pathway to my house. No effort has been made to make it a real lane, like a walk. It's the town. The more it just we as Africans have not learned the process of working together to develop a nice place for all of us. No, we
Yeah.
haven't.
That's
And
the
it's a long
environment.
story, but that is part of my
So,
dissertation
so Doc,
of life.
could you just show us how you were able to come to the United States, the processes that
Oh,
were
it's a,
involved?
it will fill a book, a couple of books actually, my life, if I were to write it down. But I got to a point where I was so busy organizing, working with other people, talking, discussing things. We Africans like to talk.
Yes.
And well, I had gotten admission to the senior secondary school. The first order of business in junior high is to pass an exam called this common entrance examination or something like that. Okay, if you pass it and get admitted to one of the top secondary schools, you are good. You've done very well because
Exactly.
only about 5% in those maybe 5-10% got a chance. So I got a
Mhm.
chance in the first year of sitting, which was we used to call Form 2, Form 3, Form 4. Form 4 was the last level. So when I got admission
So, Doc,
to
is this exam the one they call common entrance?
common entrance, common entrance,
Yeah.
senior, yeah, I think so. I think they used to call it
Yeah.
common entrance, right?
Yeah.
Exams. But no, but I think there was something higher than that. When you are going to secondary school, they call it common entrance. I
Or is
think
it?
that's what they used to call common entrance.
Yeah.
Because today they call it WASEC or whatever,
Oh,
West
Wasi.
African
Yes.
School.
Yeah.
Yeah, West African School Certificate. Yeah, WASEC.
Sure.
So it's equivalent to that. Yeah. And if you got good grades on WASEC, you were good. If you could get admission to some British or other schools, some people did. But bottom line is we had some top schools, Achimota, Prempeh College, Adiza Del, Fancy Pim, Opokuwari, Aburi Girls High School, Wesley Girls High School. There were few top schools,
Hmm.
top secondary schools that people aspired towards. And
The
if you got
schools,
it,
no, I don't want to cut you. The schools you just mentioned are still
yes,
top schools in Ghana.
they're still top schools. That is
Yes.
true. That is true. Adiza Del, in Fancy Pim, and
Prempeh
you know,
College,
Prempeh College, Pokuari, and
I,
they are still
they
good.
have Presec.
Achimota,
Hmm.
yes, they are still very good schools. And if you got a chance, hardly would anybody get a chance and not attend because everybody wants to go forward, and families understood that if you want your child to advance in the world, they have to go get this senior secondary school
Exactly.
education. So anyway, to tell you how bad my life started, I got admission the first year of sitting, and nobody was able to sponsor me because somebody has to take you to the school, pay maybe a little bit, maybe $50 or something for admission
So
fee.
if I understand you very well, when you
Yes,
first sat for the examination, you got
yes,
admission to the one of the top
of schools,
one of the
yes,
top schools in Ghana.
yeah. So far as Presbyterians are
You
concerned,
must be you must be smart then
I
to
didn't know. I
get
didn't know anything. All I
one
know
of
is
the
that
top
when you take
schools.
it, When you take a test, you come in first or second. I mean, I didn't know anything. So when I took the test, I got admitted the first time to Presec,
Wow.
Presbyterian Secondary School, right? So
It's
I
still,
didn't know.
Doc, do you
Yes, sir.
watch the math and science quiz of late?
I watched
That
it. I
that
watched it a couple
school
of
that
times.
school is always at the finals and they always
It's
win.
so yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir, yes, sir. You're right. Always at the front. Look, and we didn't know. My father did it. My father was not. My mother, my grandma. Nobody knew it was a big deal. Okay. Look, for the 7 years that I spent at Prempeh College, being voted top student of the year,
Wow.
this and that. Therefore, so look, no,
You are a genius.
none of my parents or grandparents or my family ever showed up. Okay, so nobody knows me. I mean, I'm just myself until I got admission and at the University of California at Berkeley, took a
Wow.
scholarship exam. So at the end of my 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, actually, it was 7 year program.
So you
It's
got a
when
scholarship. You got a scholarship
yes,
to
I,
University of
I,
like Berkeley.
California, yes. At the last year of secondary school, we saw advertised in the daily graphic opportunities to get to study in different universities, top universities in America, right? They didn't specify the university's name or any particular. It was a general scholarship. It was based on the Scholastic Aptitude Test (SAT),
Is
which
it?
is a universal test that they gave to all new entrants, right? And out of that, in America or Europe, anywhere, anybody trying to get to American university, you take the SAT. Now
Yeah.
I think it's optional, something like
No, no,
that.
no. SAT
So
is
you
still
take
there. It's still there
it's still
today.
still there, yeah. You take it, and then I bet you have an interview after that. So in my year, which was 1966, 67,
Wow.
the first time, yeah, the first time we took the exam and I missed it by a small bit. So I didn't get it. And I know why I did. It was not a familiar exam. This is
Mhm.
the sad thing about our society. Nobody taught us that, hey, this exam is multiple choice. You answer out of this five, A, B, C, D, you answer. You go to the next one, and you have 50 of them. Nobody ever showed us a sample of the exam. And similarly, when you go to the comprehensive, the English exam, you answer questions, you finish, you go to the next page. There's a little bit essay or reading. You read, you answer questions based on what you just read. You go to the next page. So we were not familiar with this. I had never seen this type of exam in my life. So I go in there. The math was easy. I finished everything quick. When it came to the English part, or we call it English, that's where I was slow because I didn't turn the pages. I didn't know there were more. So the first year was a flop. I flopped. I
Oh,
wasn't selected. Let's say I wasn't one of the selected few. So the following year, I came back. This time I was familiar with the exam and I was one of the top 14 that were selected. I think we were
wow.
20 or so. We were 20 and we went to interview
Out
and
of
then they
out of the
selected.
whole country.
Well, yeah, the whole country, they said there were about 1,000 that applied, right?
Wow.
And normally these are people in the sciences, science and math
Mhm.
and yeah, so out of and there were students from all over the country, from Tamale all the way to Adizado and Fancy Pim, Cape, Achimota, top students who had confidence in themselves, who took the exam. Anyway, so after the exam, then you go for an interview at the scholarship secretariat where they ask you, what school do you want to go to? In other words, if you got the award, what school do you want to go to? And you know what? A lot of people said, in any school, any university you give me is fine. University of Michigan, MIT, they don't make a choice. Somebody no, I said no. I had done my research about America I knew the geography, the history, the little bit. I said, I want to go to University of California at Berkeley.
Wow.
Why do you want to go there?
So
I
you
said,
were
okay.
so specific
Yeah,
and
so
so
sure.
focused to come to UC
Yes, sir.
Berkeley.
Yes, sir. I knew what I wanted in life in terms of the social environment, the cultural environment. These are the students who in 1967, 68 have started demonstrating against the Vietnam War.
Wow.
That is very, very interesting. Yes. And these are students who were aware that racism was not good.
So
These were the students who were
you're talking about the students that were
yes,
in UC Berkeley at the time.
you see, yes, at the time, they were conscious of Stokely Carmichael, uh, these Mike, what you call Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
That was the racial tension, the period of racial tension and riots, because discrimination against blacks in America was a major issue. And these students were conscious of it and wanted to participate in changing their society. That became very interesting for me.
So
Apart
no,
from,
no, let me come. So you were in Ghana,
yes, sir.
like a small boy, like from
Yes, yes.
Abitifi, came to Prempeh
12
College.
to 15. Yes,
You
12
took
to
the
15 years age.
SAT. You got a good score. You are now
Yeah.
given a scholarship. Prior to you coming to the United States, you have
Mhm.
taken time to read
To
about
read about
UC
and
Berkeley
test.
and how the
Yes, yes,
students are
yes, sir.
organized,
Yes, sir.
spearheading civil rights movement. That's very
Yes, yes,
interesting.
yes. Yes. And yeah, and we used to have a radio station, one AM radio station that Kwame Nkrumah made, distributed to every home in Ghana.
Okay.
So I don't think parent people didn't have to pay for it. Everybody got a radio in their house.
Wow, I never heard
You know,
that. So
oh, you never heard that?
Nkrumah
In the
gave
village,
every
yes,
household
should
a
have a
radio.
radio. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Wow.
So radio, this is GBC, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation. Yes. So every morning, 6 o'clock, every child is sitting by the radio station. Under the radio. The radio is mounted in your uncle's room, right?
Mhm.
So the voice, everybody can stay outside and they can listen to what is going on. Ta ta ta
Mhm.
tan, ta 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 tan, ta 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 tan, ta ta ta
I
tan,
think
ta
I
ta
think
ta
I
tan.
heard a little bit when I was like somewhere 10 years,
Anyway,
nine
yeah,
years.
yes,
There
yes,
was
yes.
this
After
radio, like very old radio. I think it is made out of wood or
a
something,
wooden
and there
box.
is
It's
this
a wooden box. They put it in a
wooden
wooden
box,
box. Yeah,
yes, and there is this big like analog round thing where you turn.
I know. Yeah, you turn it to this.
Exactly.
Yeah, they tells you how much technology has changed in the
Wow.
last 50, 60. Yeah, yeah. So today we are talking. You are 3,000 miles away from me, and we are talking using a small device that has a optics on it to capture my image, be
Very
able to send it along some invisible waves or radio waves.
very interesting.
Remember, there's no cord between me and you.
Mm-hmm.
It captures the image, is able to transmit it through electromagnetic waves across the continent of America from here to Houston,
Yes.
which is about what 2,500 miles away, right?
I guess it should be more
And
than that. Okay. I drove
almost, yeah,
from,
almost, yeah,
yeah, like somewhere 2,400 miles,
miles,
something
yeah.
like that.
Uh-huh. It's quite a quite a distance.
It is
It's further than my village
to Accra.
So the point I'm trying to make is that there was a mystery about life that some of us got interested in long time ago, and that mystery was science. I mean, that is what we call science. And I, at a young age, I actually decided I wanted to study science. I wanted to know why this works. Where this radio on the wall, where is the music coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And the Mormon Tabernacle Choir, Sunday morning, that is one of my favorite. This is music from the campus. there was the anchor person who
Okay.
says this music from the campus. This is Mormon Tabernacle Choir. So
Okay.
they used to sing. Yeah, they used to have a.
Which campus is this?
This is Mormon in Salt Lake City.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about
The,
Latter Day Saints
yeah,
Church.
they just I don't know how they yeah Church of the Latter Day Saints
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They used to have a program, 30 minutes on Sunday mornings before service, of course, about 6:30 or something. So the news was like from 6 to 6:30. After that, they will have the church service, and it was interesting to have people who were what 6, 7. Salt Lake City is what about 8,000 miles from Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was broadcast to the whole country. I
Wow.
don't know how they got that contract or whatever, but so they will give the news about what is going on about the United States, this Israel and Britain and Germany, and the major news of the world. Let's put it, major news of the world
Mm.
was summarized in English, of course, and we as children were just listening. At the age of 7, 8, 10. So after independence, 57. I was what 57. I was only 12 years old,
Oh
11,
my
12
God.
years old. Yes, but
So
I did see a little bit of life before independence. Yeah, I
yeah,
did.
so like you keep mentioning Nkrumah's name here, right?
Yes, sir.
And then anytime you mention Nkrumah's name, there is this kind of patriotism and mentorship, training,
We we
young
don't have a
men and
choice.
women.
Yeah.
How is Nkrumah's era in terms
Nkrumah's
of
era,
patriotism? Mhm. To
I
this.
wouldn't even say it's I think over what over 60 years of thinking about it and massaging the idea in my head. Look, we as human beings, I mean, I want to go a little bit deeper than this surface meaning. And look, human beings come on this earth and we are grouped in certain locations and we have common visions of life.
Hmm.
We decide to come together and build roads. Why? Why do you want to build roads? Because we are all living together to find sustenance on this earth.
Exactly.
And we happen to be grouped together in geographically close together.
Hmm.
So as human beings, we talk to each other. We know that this is the next door neighbor, and we have a heart here, and they have a heart here, or they sleep on the tree. I don't know, but somehow the other civilization started when human beings realized that hey, these are also human beings like me, and
Hmm.
we are all growing together, and we all may need this big tree. It fall down and block the road by which we have to go to the farm.
Hmm.
Therefore, let's cut it out. Let's remove it from here. And then we all use our muscle power. We move it out of the. That is where it started from.
Okay.
We, as human beings, to come together and become a nation. In
Yes.
that process, you learn about each other. You learn about responsibilities, you learn about shared vision, you learn about cooperation, you learn about management, you learn about leadership. The guy who said, hey guys, let's go, let's do it. You
Hmm.
know, so somehow or the other, Richmond, I think we something was missing in our development in Africa. We
Mm.
lost touch. Yeah, we didn't have clear cut leadership with a desire for the community, for the people. And Nkrumah was a unique person who realized that, so you mean to tell me that the whole place from here to Azim to Kumasi, so the white man is controlling all of us and everything, our gold and everything, just these people from abroad, we don't know where they live, but they come here and they control us. They tell our chiefs and people to drill mine the gold for them, and they have this big ship on the ocean, and then they so it was a mystery that you have to go back to understand why. Why did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
For people, human beings like us, different color, obviously, but they come from their hometown somewhere in this big house on the ocean, and they alight from from the ocean, and they come to the land, and they convince our chiefs or persuade them. I don't know how to describe it.
Yeah.
For them to get free piece of land and build their houses, and then eventually they use a gun or whatever they use, they were able to control us, our people. How? The Fanti chiefs along the coast could not get together and fight them or defeat them, but rather surrendered to them. And in 1844, they signed a bond to
Mhm.
be under the control of the British and to be what they call the bond of 1844,
Exactly.
hereby sign a bond to be protected by the British and da. So when they started coming, they came with a soft heart. Maybe they were coming to trade to find the item that we had that they did not have. They found about gold. Gold is woo. These people have gold jewelry, and where did they get it from? And then they started finding what we had that they needed,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought. I understand they brought a mirror and some little schnapp or some whiskey for our chiefs to drink, and got them drunk, and then So the history of humans interacting with each other is very interesting. And the bottom line is that at the end of the day, our people surrendered their powers and dignity and everything to the foreigners that came in. And they even signed an agreement because there were internal wars in the country between the Ashantis and the Komus and the Fantis and this and that. So after 10, 15, 50 years, they realized they were friendly enough, and the Fantis appealed to them for help
Mm-hmm.
in fighting their other internal wars. And so a group of them got together, group of chiefs, signed the bond of 1844 to become a protectorate. The southern part of Ghana became what we call a protectorate.
I
1840.
think, I think, Doc, the signing of the bond,
Mhm.
specifically like the chiefs at the coastal areas at the time, they
Sure.
felt like the Ashantis, like from the
We're coming to, yeah,
from the
yeah,
north part of
from
the
the interior part
country,
of the country, yeah.
were coming for them, and they were tormenting them here and there. So they felt
Sure.
that they could seek refuge in
Well,
the whites'
in the foreigners, yes.
protection.
But that goes back to the core of the question as forming a nation. We did not understand the concept of forming a bigger town, a region, a nation. We didn't understand that concept.
So,
We understood,
so,
yeah, so
so I don't want to cut you. Um,
sure.
I studied a bit history in
Yes,
high
yes,
school, and
yes.
like all the civilizations that came, you talk of Bantu, you talk of Egyptian, whatsoever. All those
Right.
there were some civilizations or some small cities and or towns at the time that were
Mhm.
classless, right? So
Right.
society or group of people that were able to put themselves into one class, which is a
One
classified
class, yeah.
society, they were the
Right.
very society that succeeded in
Succeeded.
terms of
That's true. Mhm.
civilization and all that. So what you are saying actually ties into that.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
for a group of people to succeed, there
Yeah.
should be a grand scheme plan to
Yeah.
come together, create a foresight,
Yeah.
governance support, and then
Right.
move towards the achievement of that foresight. And
Yeah.
like you are saying, that will typically depend on leadership.
Yeah. That depends on leadership. That's what my first course in leadership was interesting. A book called Organization or something. And it's very interesting. It started
Mhm.
with the animal kingdom,
Okay.
the termites and ants in the soil, the
Mhm.
birds of the air, the whale, the migratory whales that migrate from South America all the way to Canada
Hmm.
every year. Every
Whales.
year they migrate for their food. Yeah. They know that when the weather is warm or whatever, that's when the fish, the small fish are. So they actually migrate thousands of miles
Yes.
every year. And they go back when the weather changes. So the human or the species, I would say human, I mean, a created species from the termites, the ants, the flies, the birds of the air,
Mm-hmm.
and big whales in the ocean, they all demand a leader.
Oh
They
my
all
God.
have leaders. Yes. If you study them very carefully, I mean, it's amazing. The
The
queen bee,
whales in the ocean, these
yes, the
birds,
whales,
they
one
have
big
leadership.
whale will be flying, will be swimming, and the whole bunch of them will be following that track.
Wow.
I'm telling you, yeah, yeah. It's studied. It's very interesting.
Wow.
And so
You
ants and
see,
termites, we see
don't you find it, Doc? Don't you find it fascinating and interesting when
that is exactly
people
the
take
point. Yeah,
time to do these kinds of research just to
yeah,
prove the
yeah, yeah.
point that animals
That is the point. Yeah.
also have
Mhm.
leadership?
They have leadership. Yes, yes, they do. Without leaders, if you kill the queen bee, if you kill that queen bee, that whole pestilence that is they will scatter. If you
Mm.
kill the queen bee, yes, yeah. If you kill the
So
queen bee,
is the queen bee different? Like, is it bigger or something? How is the queen bee? Because
I I
I studied a
I
bit
don't know.
about it. I studied a bit
Yeah,
about it
but
when we're doing evolution.
well, I don't think it. Maybe there is maybe bigger, but physically, I don't think that characteristic is what it's really a mystery in the
Yeah,
term that we do have a queen bee or queen ant
it probably
who the
had some
others.
qualities others don't have.
Yes, yes. At least that hasn't been studied yet. They haven't,
Mhm.
but from what this organization management, the class was on organization and management, right?
Mm.
So it starts to from nature how human beings are organized and managed, right? And if you organize and manage well to the point, and all based on the leader's vision, and it translates to human life.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So you asked me about Kwame Nkrumah's time. Look, this is what I saw growing up. That one man able to sit in Pennsylvania as a student
Yes.
to think that well, I get a chance to come and study 1937 or something. He came to Lincoln University to
Lincoln.
study, right? And then he thought about it about becoming free. Nkrumah's dissertation was going to be towards colonial freedom. Okay,
Okay.
his dissertation was going to work on how to get freedom for his people. And
Wow.
the American the teachers are you. This is revolutionary. So
Yes.
they didn't think it
I
was.
heard they never allowed him to develop
They
that
didn't. No,
thesis.
no, they didn't allow him, and so he didn't. He finished all the coursework. That's why later on they gave him an honorary doctorate.
Yes.
Because he had finished all the coursework. He's finished a comprehensive exam, I think, but they did not accept his dissertation title. Okay, so anyway, the bottom line was that he had a vision. How did one man have a vision that it is not right for my people to be working hard in the villages, in the farms, and we sell to the white man who takes it out. He brings his comb and schnapp and whiskey and few things, shoes and clothing to sell to us. And we all worship him and we are all going to school. We all reading his religion and going to church and all that. So one person thought about it And he said, well, yeah, I don't think that is right. You see what I'm saying? And he wanted his freedom because he had read about other people, other societies who
Yes.
are living on their own as free nations. So when he came here in the late 30s, having seen America a little bit, how people live and all that, he decided that it was time for Africa to be free. You
Exactly.
see, not just Ghana, but Africa to be free.
Exactly.
So it's a leadership spirit that occurs, and I don't know
Do
exactly how,
you
but
like there is this debate going on in Uganda about Nkrumah and then the other five people who came, like other five
mm,
people who were part of the top, the big six,
yeah,
and there is
yeah,
this kind of debate, right?
yeah.
How would you rate Nkrumah in our political
Look,
dispensation?
let me tell you, the other guys were in the room when the announcement was made, and they had a desire also to be free. But behind most people who want to get into leadership,
Mhm.
behind them may be some aura of egotistical pursuit
Mhm.
or thinking. The thinking is not to liberate the people for themselves, but you want to be chief king.
Mm.
And so I think that during that time, the controversy that came was the Achim Abuakwa family, where there was
Dankwa.
Dankwa and Dankwa Buja was in the UK, but Dankwa they had this Achim dynasty, so they felt they were somebody, right? So
Mhm.
during the scramble for the discussion for liberation, for independence,
Yes.
the Fanti condition, the Grant, UG Grant or whatever,
Pa
UC
Grant.
Grant,
Pa
right?
Grant.
There was a world Park Grant, okay, and yeah, Dankwa and his people, some of his people were involved in the discussion. But what really got Dankwa involved was the murder of one of their sub chiefs
Mm-hmm.
and the involvement of his own cousin or brother or something or
Mm-hmm.
nephew. Dankwa's nephew was implicated in the murder, and
Okay.
Dankwa, being a lawyer, felt that it was his duty to defend his nephew, right?
Okay.
So he tried and he failed. And so he felt that I think they knew that it was a traditional, in the olden days, when a chief died, they will catch somebody who is not part of the royal family. They
Mm-hmm.
will catch somebody and cut his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that they're doing that to let that person accompany the chief in the life yonder to go and serve him there.
Yes.
And that was our tradition, okay?
Yeah.
Tradition of actually murder. It was a ritual murder, they call it. And
Mm.
it was not, the British had come in, they established their laws, 19th, and they say, hey, look, this is not allowed. It's murder. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot just kill somebody with the objective of letting him accompany somebody who is dead. No. So that man was being tried for murder.
Okay.
And Dankwa, being the lawyer in the family, was supposed to defend him.
Mm-hmm.
And since Dankwa failed, he felt that he would plead his case, in the British, in Britain,
In
right?
Britain.
So
Okay.
he traveled to Britain. He traveled to UK to talk to various people in high places, right? To
Okay.
establish himself that he was the grandson or whatever of the chief. Himself is a royal member of the royal family, African royal family, that he was somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't work. The British are not familiar with those kind of things. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You are a royal member of a royal family, so it's okay to kill one member or one person. No big deal, and they will let you go. No, The British had laws. Murder is murder. You
Yes.
see, so they could not excuse Dankwa's nephew. They could not excuse him. They said no.
Mm,
He was found guilty. He had to face the law, right? That is the difference between the white man and the black man.
exactly.
They don't have the culture of oh famanyame,
They,
yemfancheno, oh
there is,
kupon, no
they have the
forgiveness.
law. They have the law. When you
You have to
violate,
abide.
you deal with
Yeah,
it.
you have to
Exactly.
you have to deal. You have to face the consequences. So Dankwa came back very disappointed. He was and being the elder of the family and the enlightened and everything, he was expecting some favor from the British, and we don't. They don't have that. They don't have that in their family. You know, you take 5 sheep and goats, and then you just give them to the queen, and then the Queen of
They don't.
England
They
said,
don't
"Oh,
accept. They don't accept
they
bribery.
don't accept cheap. Yeah, they don't accept bribery. They don't accept even a gold. Even if you give them gold, it probably won't work. You know, and so Dankwa, by following the traditional thinking, I don't think Dankwa was really, from what I've read, Dankwa was not really ready for independence, other than the reason that, hey, these people, they don't respect us. They don't respect our culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we are going to, let's go, Kwame, let's go. Like, we are going to
That,
get our freedom. That was it.
so it's
That
like
was his,
the leader is here, and Nkrumah is here. He's the leader, and all these
yeah.
people are just playing alongside. But deep down,
Nkrumah,
they were not
yeah.
interested in attaining independence. And
Yeah,
like,
but you
Doc,
see,
I think that
but
it
but
is
but let me correct. Let me
okay.
correct you. Nkrumah came to Ghana. He was not the leader at the time. Nkrumah, he was a participant in a group of people who thought we should have independence. You see
Mm,
what I'm saying? Nkrumah did not come to Ghana to be boss over everybody. No, he came as a servant to help them organize. He was an organizer, and he knew the right thing to do. He philosophically, he had thought about it more than other people had.
mm,
His major was economics and philosophy. So he had the idea. He went to England, and had conferences and meetings with other people, other Africans if included, about discussing this idea of getting independence for our countries, including Namdi Azikiwe of Nigeria,
yes.
okay, and including some other people from Kenya and other places. So he was an organizer, a man who was convinced about the independence of Ghana, or sorry, the independence of our people. And he met Marcus Garvey and some of these from the Caribbean, people from the Caribbean islands, who were also struggling for their independence,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that is what happened. And then, so Dankwa and the people in Ghana at the time, in the Gold Coast at the time,
Mm-hmm.
he had left. He had left and come to America. Then on his way, he went to England. Then he wasn't really ready to come back to Ghana, to the Gold Coast yet, but the urgency of the problem at the time made Dankwa and others think about Power Grant, and I said, we've heard about this man in London who is talking about this and that. They say he's very dynamic. So they invited him. They invited Nkrumah to come to Ghana and become the general secretary
Mm-hmm.
of the UGCC, United Gold Coast Convention Party. So it was that time that they formed the party.
Mm.
Park Grant, they formed the party, UGCC, UGCC party, whatever. They formed that party,
UGCC.
right? You see, United Gold Coast Convention or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that party.
United Gold Coast Convention.
Right. So they formed that party, and Kwame Nkrumah was the general secretary, right? He
Mm-hmm.
made him secretary, general secretary. He wasn't, going to be. He wasn't. If he had the ambition to be president, maybe he did. I don't know, but it's not revealed that he had the ambition to be president.
Mm-hmm.
But he accepted a position to organize, to be the general organizer of the party. He traveled around the country, He traveled around the northern part of the country, the southern, the eastern, the central, and so he was known.
So,
So
Doc,
now, yes, sir.
so let me ask you this question. Like, uh, Nkrumah
The
came in,
recording. The, mhm, mhm,
Nkrumah came in
mhm.
after even last after UGCC had been formed, and then
They had, yeah, they had already formed it. Yeah,
and these people you mentioned, Akwa J, Dankwa,
yeah,
and Co. They were already in Ghana. They were already in the system. Um,
yeah.
but
I don't think
how
I
did
don't think Akwaje was not there. I don't think Akwaje was there,
I
but
think?
Dankwa and Park Grant and others. Well,
Yeah,
anyway, maybe Akwaje. I don't. I forgot the details there, but
I mean, like what I know is Nkrumah was the first person who came, the last person to come to Ghana
okay,
among the
okay,
six. And
sure.
what was so strange and different about Nkrumah's dynamism and leadership skills that helped
That is,
that helped him capture pretty
yeah.
much every heart, every person's mind in Ghana?
Well, that is what leadership is all about. We are all humans. We may want to get the same thing, but how you explain it, express it, disseminate that information, that spirit, how
Because what
dedicated
I
you are.
what I read was that these leaders, Dankwa, Obiche Bilamte and Co, their
Okay.
leadership skill, their organization skills, their pursuit for um, independence were
Mhm.
pretty much focused on the elite themselves, people
Of
who
course.
have gone to school. And but Nkrumah came in and
Yep.
started everything from bottom up, like
Well,
organizing the local people,
yeah.
going to the
Yeah.
ordinary, and feeling his shoes, feeling his foot in the shoes of these people. And
Right.
that is one of the things I read was able to assist Nkrumah to win majority of Ghanaians at the time.
Okay. Explain that part. Nkrumah filling the shoes of these people, you said? It was the other way
Like,
around. It
like
was the
no.
fact that,
Mhm.
huh? Okay. It was
That,
the
what I'm
fact
saying,
that,
what I'm
uh-huh,
saying is Nkrumah
uh-huh.
actually put his foot in
Oh,
the
yeah.
ordinary
In the
people's
shoes of the,
shoes
yeah.
and
Well, this,
became one of
uh-huh.
them.
Okay. Nkrumah became one of them in the sense that somebody had thought about what would be the benefit, possible benefit of getting our freedom, our liberation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
my bro, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, but they had no clue how to get it. In other words, yeah, we are not saying that Kwame Nkrumah was the only one who had the idea of liberating our people from colonial
Of
rule or
course,
this
pretty
and that.
much all the other
Right.
people. Even there were
Well,
some
that you know,
names. There were some names that were never captured on the big six.
yeah, right, right. So the idea had germinated or had started, but like I was saying, Dankwa's vision of it was "Yɛn ara yɛbɛdi yɛn ho." We will rule ourselves so that our traditions and laws can be enforced here, that we do what we want. Okay, we doing ritual murder. Just one man has been killed, and you think that a man, our nephew, should be put in prison? Are
So
you
so
crazy?
dog
No, no.
so
Yes,
so are you trying to say that Dankwa's interest or Dankwa's idea
it's motivation. Yes,
pursuing for independence was motivated by the
it
murder?
was motivated by the desire to be free of other people's laws, and so that we follow our own rules and laws
More
as we were going.
specifically, more specifically, the chief who was in his
Yes, so
family who prosecuted
exactly.
for murder.
Yes, 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 yes. Mhm. That
Okay.
is the truth. It's written down. I've
So
read it somewhere. So
other than that, he wouldn't have even. come out in the first place and say we need independence?
Well, as for that, it's hard to tell whether
Okay.
maybe he had it at the back of his mind that, oh, it would be nice for us to be on our own, or, but maybe he thought about it. But the real focus, see, for Nkrumah, the main motivation had nothing to do with anything personal for him. No, he wanted us to be free. Okay, his
Exactly.
freedom was his main objective, and so he wanted it for all the people, the veranda boys, the ordinary people, the chiefs, everybody. But when he came out with the concept at the meetings, he wasn't given the general approval as he wanted, he expected. You see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
that is why he broke off from the. When they made him general secretary, he started appealing to the ordinary people too. The veranda boys, they were following him when he explained the concept of freedom to them. I was there in Abetifi in 1952
How old were
when
you?
I was 6 years old.
Wow.
I was 6 years old, standing in front of the man wearing a white suit. And I looked at him, he was a very jovial man. He took
Okay.
life as a jovial, and he was talking about our freedom. He was, he explained something, I forgot what he said, but what I remember was that we was talking English, right? And then he said, oh, me come fancy. Me jana me come
Mhm.
fancy. So the concept of freedom, Fahudi,
Doc, let me ask this
give,
question. So,
yes, sir.
from what you know, right, there is this,
Yes.
ongoing debate. Mhm.
Let me tell you, Richmond, I'll give this as an advice to all. In my second book, Life is War,
Mhm.
is where I explain some of these concepts. Look, you have opportunities in life to run your country. And if you fail and you allow somebody to come in and kill your leader
Mhm.
and take over they take over your country, and the way you think, the way you worship God, everything is taken over, and you are basically a slave in this world.
Mhm.
So if after we, for some reason, for some weaknesses of spirit or whatever, Nkrumah was overthrown in 1966, that ended our independence.
Before you continue, let me ask, who is the founder of Ghana?
To me, I would say that it was a group of people, but Nkrumah was the head.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he was the only founder. I don't think it's fair to say Nkrumah was the founder of Ghana, but he was the leader at the time that the whole thing started. On the that is debatable in the sense that one person does not found a nation, but at the time the foundation of the nation was started, it was Kwame Nkrumah. Not Kwame Nkrumah and Buzia and Dankwa and all. No, it
But
wasn't the spark,
Doc,
the big six. Yes.
yes, let me. So, all over the world, I may be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Mhm.
There is always one founder for a country.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And in your admission, there were a group of people headed by
Yeah.
Nkrumah. And as
Sure.
somebody
Sure.
said, that um, kings make history, not warriors. So if
Yes.
Nkrumah was the leader of this group of people,
Yes,
and
sir.
out of their activities,
Hmm.
independence was achieved,
Was created. Yeah.
is it not fair
Mhm.
and credible to say Nkrumah was the founder?
Oh, it is fair and credible, and that is standard. That's how it's done everywhere in the world. There's no founder or leader who has single-handedly went and captured, conquered all his enemies. No, it's a group of people led by one person as leader. And so those people who are saying, oh, Dankwa Buzi, look, it's fine. I mean, it's fine to argue and debate because your grandfather, this and that. But at the end of the day, that is not how the world works. No, that
Exactly.
is not how society, yeah. So the hatred. Let me tell you what I saw growing up in secondary school time. The hatred towards that man is a typical negative force in our type of culture and people, that if we don't stop it, we don't want to go by the rule of law. We don't want to go by, we want to go by the whims and caprices of chiefs and tradition and this. The tradition is not written down. I didn't see it 70
So,
years ago, and you haven't seen it.
so
But we want to go by,
who do
yes,
you, like this kind of hatred you're talking about? I think
yes.
it has persisted for a very long time. Who
Me-
found this hatred? Like, is it
eh,
because I heard that after Nkrumah's overthrow, most of his books and
yeah. Were
all the
collected
basic
from
things
library and burned.
that
Yes,
reminded us of Nkrumah were burnt. And who
they burned
orchestrated
them.
that? Was
They
it
took his statue down.
exactly?
The
So, what are the forces trying to, you know,
the
remove every
forces of,
remnant of Nkrumah
let,
in our
let me
life?
tell you what.
Is it coming from the west, or there are
It's
some
not.
kind of
No, no. There were
enemies?
people. There were people like Bafo Akoto, and all these people in Kumasi who had phenomenal. I saw a TV documentary once.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was live shot, and they used it in the documentary, where this guy, skinny guy, bare chested, was so full of venom. And Kwame Nkrumah, we will kill him, we will do. Look, when I saw that, I said, wow,
How long is
this is
that?
how. Oh, this was during the fight, during the early 50s,
Okay.
before independence. Yeah,
Okay.
this is before independence. You see, the UGCC and sorry, the UPP, UP party,
Mm,
they were in parliament. And the reason why Nkrumah made a one-party state in 1960 was because these people boycotted parliament because they were a minority, and they boycotted parliament and they walked out
mm,
during yeah, they walked out when it became time for a republic to become a republic. They walked out of parliament, and some of the people had hatred and venom towards Nkrumah. Look, the assassination attempts after independence, it
mm,
was incredible. 1957 was independence. No country has ever faced so much hatred towards each other as
mm,
Ghana. Yeah, right after independence, as a bomb assassination attempt. I
mm-hmm,
saw 1958, there was a young kid that was going to deliver flowers to Nkrumah. Boom, Accra Sports Stadium. He went to the northern part of Ghana to meet President Yamiogo of Upper Volta, Burkina Faso.
mm-hmm.
When he was coming, he stopped at one town, Kulungugu. Kulungugu, that was the
Lungu.
name.
Yes.
Kulungugu. There was a bomb attempt at him. There were several bomb attempts.
Wow.
Why Nkrumah did not use Shaka Zulu's system, I don't know. But
Recent. Okay. Go ahead.
there's a concept and philosophy among us that when you examine well, Nkrumah could have used, but he did not.
Hmm.
It is a compromise and a softness in each other. Maybe that's why everybody dies at the end. But there's some generals have lived a lot longer. The people in the West hated him, but it was no. I don't think they hated him. The leadership of, let's say,
The
America, and
West.
they didn't.
Yes.
Right?
They.
They want, okay, but it wasn't the people of America. Nkrumah was a well loved person, admired. When I came to America in 1968, white Americans would see me and say, "Oh, you come from Ghana? Oh, that is the Kwame Nkrumah is Ghana.
Yes.
Oh, that man
Up
I
till
admire
now.
so
Up
much."
till now.
Me-
Like wherever you go, you mention Ghana, and Nkrumah name comes first.
Yes, but
Like.
white, I was amazed that, white Americans admire Nkrumah that much. White American women, oh, I admire that man standing up for his country and his people. You see, we over there, you hate the man because he beat you, defeated you in elections or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is so. The African has a lot to learn, my brother. The African has a lot to learn, and it was good that I went to social sciences to study a little bit about human organizations, animal organizations, and how people think, and eventually how leadership comes in. The effects of leadership in a country on a people is so enormous. And unfortunately, that's our history. And if we
Yeah.
get a good leader, we have to really correct a lot of mistakes, a
Yes,
lot of
Doc.
our culture.
Um,
But
the
yeah, the
show just
conclusion
hit.
of
The show just hit an hour, and like I said,
wow. Mhm.
we going to have you on this show um, for innumerable times because you are just a living experience and you have a lot to share. Um, we will be arranging for you to come back for us to talk about because there is a lot we have to do. We haven't even talked about your thesis, your
We haven't talked
dissertation.
about it.
We haven't talked about the book you wrote, Life is War.
Yeah,
We have to
yeah,
set
yeah,
time to talk about it. And
yeah,
also,
yeah.
you know, there is a whole lot of things that you have to
Okay,
tell us, even to
okay.
delve deeper into Nkrumah's era. Before we end the show, I will just give you like a minute to tell me and every Ghanaian, whether he's living in continental Africa or America, and all blacks, what final word do you have for us?
Well, my final word for you, and if this is not going to be my last interview, my final word for you all is to learn to love your country. And the reason is because no human being was born to live by themselves. We all work together from families to small communities in a town to districts and regions. Let us amend the Constitution. 1992 Constitution was a damaging constitution, and the opposition boycotted that discussion. This is the same thing they did during Nkrumah's time, 1957, 1960 time, sorry, 1960, when it was becoming a republic. You don't boycott a discussion, you vote and participate and know that you lost today, but maybe you win tomorrow. Okay? If your ideas were wrong, then they were wrong. If the people like the ideas and they work, then they were right. So what happens was when we don't work together as a group, as a people to develop our country, but we become segmented. I am UPP, I am MPP, I am UGCC, I am this and that. Look, we are destroying ourselves as Black people, okay?
Yes.
Because the common things that make us together for everybody to enjoy life and that we all chip in a little bit of tax for, we are not using the tax money even to do good roads. No, our politicians are using the money to give themselves benefits beyond their wildest imagination. No human being has a right, if you are at a salary level of, let's say, $20,000, $30,000 a year, you have no right to drive a car worth $120,000. No, 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 no. We have
That
to
is
learn to
that is what
budget.
is going on in our country.
That is what is going on in our country. People get into power and they think that the money belongs to them, and therefore they feel, okay, order this for me, order this, order. And the people around them are ordering 20, 30 Toyota Land Cruiser vehicles in the first week of, look, it is criminal. And the lawyers and the judicial system has not helped us much
Mm-hmm.
in terms of putting a curb on these kind of behaviors. No, the people who are lawyers in parliament know this is wrong. You
Yes.
don't have a right to take the people's money and spend it the way you want. No.
Mm.
And so we have a lot of work to do to bring sanity into the way we govern ourselves. I'm talking
Sure.
about sanity. Yeah. And that is one advice I'll give. No matter what you do, if you cannot find rules and regulations to manage your country and to let people abide by certain rules and laws, and you feel that once you have power, you have unlimited power on the people's purse, you are taxing people, interest rate is 29%, 29% interest rate on short-term loans and long-term. Look, you don't have even mortgages to help your people build houses and finance their businesses. No, you don't. But you collect 15, 20, 30, 150%. I took a car to Ghana in 19, what is it, 81 or 89, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I paid 150% of the value. I bought a
Wow.
small SUV. In those days, a small SUV I was at the time I shipped to Ghana. Do you know they charged me 150% of the value of the vehicle? I had a receipt with me. They don't say, "Ah, no, we don't look at the receipt." They will
So
say, okay,
that
fine, VAT.
that exorbitant charges at the port is not new. It
It's not
existed
new. No.
long
Yeah,
time.
it started from the PNDC time with Finance Minister Dr. Kwesi Botwe.
Uh,
Kwesi Botwe said it is time that the people who had money, how did he put it? He said there's some people who are living above the means of the ordinary people in Ghana. That's what he said. He said he was a Marxist socialist. So Marxist socialism, and I don't know what that is, but I've read a little bit about socialism and Marxism
mhm,
and all that stuff. Karl Marx was not a fool. He wasn't that stupid to say everybody who is poor should be in line and the rich should we should take the money from the rich. And no, he never said that. But these African leaders or these, so Kwesi Botwe, they made these rules. I was there, 1989. I read it. I was going to Ghana in 1989. I went to 90 and then 92. They took a loan from the World Bank, $2.3 billion dollars, to build asphalt concrete roads from
mm,
Accra to Kumasi, Kumasi to Takoradi, Takoradi to Accra, what they call the Golden Triangle Road. They never built those good quality roads. They just put coal tar. They just cleaned the surface of the coal, put coal tar there. By 1991, when I went back to Ghana, everything has crumbled. That is when potholes, they used to
so
call them manholes. Pothole, development of big potholes in the streets, in the
so
highways in Ghana. So these people that came and killed people as a revolution and this and that, it was just a fake revolution. It wasn't a revolution. For 10 years, Rawlings and his people ruled our country, and they end up being more corrupt in my vision, holding a gun and killing people for corruption where they didn't even try them. They just
mhm,
killed them. Okay. And now you come into power and you make some easy, stupid decisions that affect the destiny of all of us, and then you leave, right? Did anybody evaluate Kwesi Botwe's assets? PV Obin died, and they said he had taken $7 million from the cement company that was in Tema.
mhm.
They said he took $7 million bribe to allow them exclusive right to produce cement. There was no competition.
Doc,
Okay,
oh,
It-
mhm,
we need to institute and establish the death penalty in Ghana.
mhm.
If you guys do not establish the death penalty, Ghana would never.
There
And
was,
I'm telling you,
like I said, we're going to have more time for you. There was a
okay,
death penalty, but recently
it needs to be revised.
they revoked it or something like that.
Oh
So
yeah, it needs to be.
Doc, like I said, we'll be coming back to you
Okay.
so that we can get most from you. Um,
Okay.
this is the end of the show. Like I said, this is the maiden show, and we'll be coming to you pretty much multiple times in a week. Today we had Dr. Danso. And if you are new to this channel, subscribe, follow us, comment, and let us know whatever topic you want us to have a discussion on. And the channel is Dr. Richmond Ajman on all social media handles. We will meet again, and until then, I will say bye.